After completing a degree at Christ College, Cambridge, preparing to become a minister, Charles Darwin sailed in 1831 as a passenger aboard the HMS Beagle, setting off on a path that was destined to impact the world. His 5-year voyage took him to the western coast of South America, where he observed various kinds of exotic and formerly unknown animals. One set of creatures in particular, the Galapagos finches, caught Darwin's attention. He studied the birds, collected samples, and observed that they had various beak sizes and shapes. It was his observation of these variations that inspired his theory of origins. Darwin returned to England in 1836, and in 1842 he began drafting his book on the origin of species by the means of natural selection, or the preservation of the favoured races in the struggle for life. We mostly know this as The Origin of Species. And this was eventually published in 1859. Shortly after the book's publication, Darwin carried out a long correspondence with his friend and colleague, Asa Gray, sharing his doubts and his sense of confusion about the end and ultimate directions of evolution. I am conscious that I'm an utterly hopeless model, he confessed. I cannot think that the world as we see it is the result of chance, and yet I cannot look at each separate thing as the result of design. The confusion Darwin expressed came as he tried to connect all the wonders of the natural world that he observed with all the harsh things he saw existing alongside that beauty. Because of all the destructive forces that he witnessed, he chose to reject God rather than seek a biblical interpretation of these distortions within the created world. We face the same dilemma as we struggle to understand origins. We cannot help asking questions such as, where did I come from? How did I get here? And how do I ascribe meaning to my existence? Darwin ultimately adopted an atheistic theory of origins. In other words, he left God out of the picture altogether. Theism, or the existence of God, on the other hand, offers an explanation of origins that takes God into consideration. Because none of us were actually there to personally witness how everything began, we have to examine the available evidence and make up our own minds. The Bible in Genesis 1 begins with the words, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." To many people in our so-called modern intelligent society, the creation account is a myth, and thus the Bible's opening statement undermines its credibility as an authoritative text. I was recently having a discussion at work with a Spanish colleague, and we stumbled upon the topic of creation. And upon asking me, he asked me, "Do you really believe in creation?" To which I obviously replied, "Yes." To which he replied, "But you're an intelligent guy. How could you possibly believe in creation? Like, evolution has just put that to bed." But is that really the case? Upon putting the finishing touches to its Windows Phone 7 operating system, some Microsoft employees celebrated the release of the Windows Phone 7 going to manufacture by parading through its Redmond campus in September 2010 with 2 hearses, and they had iPhone and BlackBerry caskets. Yes, caskets. The Microsoft employees were so confident of their new mobile OS offering that they created elaborate costumes and hired cars and held a mock funeral for the iPhone and BlackBerry. The theme was they had buried the competition with the Windows Phone 7. However, in January 2019, Microsoft announced that support for the Windows 10 mobile would end on December the 10th, that the Windows 10 mobile users should migrate to iOS or Android devices. Windows Mobile OS came and went, but iPhone is most definitely still here. So the question remains, is creation credible, or has the theory of evolution turned the creation story into a bedtime story? There's a book It's a really good book by a guy called C. K. Pandit. He's an Adventist doctor who has been to England a couple of times, and he has some interesting things to say. So he has a chapter, and in this chapter he talks about statistical analysis, the probability of evolution happening. And he says this: chance is a subjective idea that we use every day in making a host of decisions. It is also a mathematical tool called probability. The relevant numbers are plugged into a formula, and the result gives us an indication as to whether an event might or might not occur. In day-to-day life, we can say that an event that only has one chance of occurring in 10 to the power of 8, so that's 100 million, is considered an impossibility. In scientific evaluations, the number goes up to 10 to the 15, so that's 10 quadrillion, or quadrillion. And when it comes to stating a scientific law, we are told that the number is 10 to the power of 50, so that's 10 and 50 zeros. In other words, if there's a mathematical probability of something occurring 10 to the 50 times, with only one chance of failure, the event is said to have been established as a law, meaning it will always occur. Conversely, if there's only one chance of occurrence and 10 to the 50 chances of failure, the event is considered to be utterly impossible. Of course, these numbers are arbitrary, but they are too huge to question. How big are these numbers anyway? Let me try to illustrate. Suppose I wanted to test gravity by dropping a ball from my hand once every second and looking for that one chance when it will not come down but will stay suspended or float away. To test it 10 to the 18 times, so that's 10 and 18 zeros, will take 15 billion years. That is the age of the universe according to the Big Bang Theory. If I wanted to test it 10 to the 20 times, it would take 1.5 trillion years, 100 times the alleged age of the entire universe. So 10 to the power of 50 is admittedly arbitrary, but it is also an astronomical figure, too huge to question. One chance then in 10 to the 50 is stating an utter impossibility. Dr. Michael Denton is considered one of the first to statistically challenge Darwin's idea of spontaneous generation of life. He looked at the simplest cell that could possibly live and function. What were the chances that 100 proteins, the smallest number required, could come together by sheer coincidence? His calculation arrived at a possibility of 1 in 10 to the power of 2,000. That's 10 with 2,000 zeros. Remember, 10 to the power of 50 is an impossibility. So we can see that although creation or evolution is treated as a fact, in terms of probability, it's impossible. And so some scientists have admitted so. Consider now the words of a famous scientist. Spontaneous generation was disproved 100 years ago, but that would lead us to only one other conclusion, that's of supernatural creation. We cannot accept that on philosophical grounds, so we choose to believe the impossible, that life arose spontaneously. So, there are some scientists that will admit it's impossible that life arose spontaneously. Like, the numbers are too silly, it's not credible. So let's examine the Genesis account. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. A few decades ago, one of the main arguments against the idea of a creator God was the claim that God created the earth and the universe from nothing. Creatio ex nihilo was roundly criticized, jeered, and taunted. It was an easy pick as an argument to categorically deny the existence of God. Today, however, almost all theoretical physicists claim that the universe sprang into existence from absolutely nothing. In fact, they vie with each other in trying to get the most credible description of creation ex nihilo. Isn't it a paradox that one of the strongest arguments against the existence of God is today the most sought after explanation the origin of the universe. These have not changed. In fact, they were right all along. Said Robert Jastrow that in his book, Gods and Astronomers, but the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountain of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. So today, evolutionists and creationists agree that the universe came from nothing, but there remains a difference, a very critical one. Evolutionists claim that the change was spontaneous, and creationists claim that it was affected by an agent, God. In verse 2 of Genesis 1 it continues, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. From this, we can pick out some natural laws. First of all, light and dark do not mix. There is no grey when God created the universe. Many of us attempt to live in the grey areas of life. We try to serve God a little bit and have a little bit of Satan on the side. What Revelation 3 describes as lukewarm. But the only people we are fooling is ourselves, and one day God will spew us out. In Genesis 12, God said something very interesting to Abraham. He said to him, the Lord had said to Abraham, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whosoever curse you, I will curse. And all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. But in order for Abraham to be a blessing, God required Abraham to leave the land of his birth and go to Canaan so that he could be a blessing to the world. Where was Abraham born? Ur of the Chaldees. Where is that? Babylon. Jesus in Revelation has a call for us, his people, to come out of Babylon. And it is our job as Seventh-day Adventists to give this last message of warning to this world. However, many of us, we don't want to be different from the world, and we seek to blend in with our friends. We cannot be a blessing to the world, however, unless we are different from the world. If those who we come into contact with see no difference in our lives, what incentive do they have to change? Jesus said in Matthew 15 verse 14, let them alone, they be blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall in the ditch. It sounds a bit harsh, but it's true. The blessing you can be for a poor person is rich. You can't help them if you're poor. And if you are no different from the world, you will be like the blind leading the blind. Useless. Some of us have relationships in which we are unequally yoked, and the Bible warns us against such. But we see it as a restriction rather than as a law born out of God's love for us and his desire to protect us. But light and dark do not mix, as says 2 Corinthians 6 verse 14. Be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. What fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? In Genesis, it goes on to say in verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which are under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And in verse 9 it then goes on and says, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Prior to the flood, the earth was a very different place. God made the firmament, also known as the sky, and he divided the waters which were under the sky from the waters which were above the sky. And the waters under the sky he then divided into land and sea. This is also mentioned, this concept is mentioned in 2 Peter 3 verse 5. And it says, they deliberately forgot that God made the heavens long ago by the word of his command. He brought the earth out of the water and surrounded it with water. He then used the water to destroy the ancient world with a mighty flood. So, when people ask where did the rain come from, there used to be some form of water canopy above the sky. So some Christian scientists theorize that this water canopy caused conditions that would contribute towards the increased lifespans that we saw recorded in Genesis. Another thing of significance is that there was only one landmass. This did not change till the days of Peleg in Genesis 10 verse 25, when the earth was divided. So there was no need of planes. You didn't have to kind of trek back home on a plane to see our relatives for 9 hours, but everybody was on one landmass. In verse 11, the narrative continues and said, and God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed and the fruit tree yielding fruit of it with his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed of his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind, and God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. Here we begin to see a pattern of creation, and the pattern is this: 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. What God made on day 1, 2 and 3, he completes on days 4, 5 and 6. So what God made on day 1, he completed on day 4. What he made on day 2, he filled or completed on day 5. What he made on day 3, he completed or filled in day 6. So now God starts the 4 things in verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the 4th day. Here we see that God put into place natural bodies to mark the passage of time, and times and seasons, but Genesis is the only record that explains the existence of a 7-day week. Think about it. There are astronomical bases for everything. So a day is a rotation of the earth, 24 hours. A month is governed by the moon's rotation around the earth. A lunar month is 28 days. And a year is governed by the earth's rotation, orbit around the sun. But no other record but the Bible specifies a reason for a 7-day week. People have tried to change this. The French, in the French Revolution, tried to institute a 10-day working week. It didn't work. The horses dropped dead. We also see God filling or completing here that which he made on day 1. In verse 20, it then goes on to say, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day. Here we see God filling what he created on day 2. Notice that, in verse 24, God then went on to say, let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after its kind, and cattle after their kind, and every living thing that creepeth upon the earth after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created them. And God blessed them, verse 28, And God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, but to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. We live in a society where, we live in a world where society has tried to portray gender as a social construct, as opposed to a genetic reality, and has created a plethora of other genders, or other gender identities. I believe on Facebook, there's 51 options to choose from. What they are, I don't know. However, the Word of God clearly defines two genders, male and female. God also gave man dominion over the earth and set them as stewards. However, we as humanity have abused that position, and we are rapidly destroying the earth. We see people on the news like Greta Thunberg, I don't know how you pronounce her name, and others campaigning, and David Attenborough campaigning that we are rapidly destroying the earth, and we have 10 years before we see catastrophic consequences. However, in Revelation 11 verse 18, the word of God says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shalt give us reward unto thy servants the prophets, unto the saints, and to them that bear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. God would punish the world. The world would have to pay the price of destroying God's creation, and God would judge us as humanity for that. God provided a plant-based diet for mankind, which science has proved contributes to a long life, free from most of the modern Western ailments, and we as an Adventist Church benefit from that message. And in chapter 2, it then goes on to the last day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and he sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. God has revealed in Scripture the authentic and historical account of his creative activity. He created the universe, and in a recent 6-day creation, the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Thus he established the Sabbath as a perpetual memorial of the work he performed, and completed during 6 literal days that together with the Sabbath constituted the same unit of time which we call a week today. In the 3 angels' message in Revelation 14 verse 6, we see a call to worship God as the Creator. In verse 6 it says, And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made the heaven and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. Here what we see is a throwback to the fourth commandment, to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And the reason given in the fourth commandment is that the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that in them, and all that is in them. We live in an age where the inhabitants of this world will soon have to make a decision. They will either accept the seal of God and worship the Creator by obedience to his law, especially that of the fourth commandment, or they will accept the mark of the beast and accept the counterfeit Sabbath. However, God created all things through his word, and he desires to restore fallen mankind to dwell with him forever. The real call of the 3 angels' messages are a work of character transformation. Do our lives reflect the law of God, which is a transcript of his character? Has Babylon or confusion been removed from our lives? Is Jesus the most important thing in our lives, that though the whole world may ridicule us, that we will follow him? To have this experience, we must allow the Holy Spirit to so indwell in us that by his word he can give us new hearts with the same creative power that he used to create the universe that we live in. Christ desires to use his power that keeps the atoms together, according to Colossians 1 verse 17, that all our characters may reflect the lovely image of Jesus, so that we may dwell with him forever. So, let us allow him he declared every day as good, so work in our lives that he can pronounce us as good. Amen.
Amen.